You ever see someone so committed to being the villain in a story that they end up getting exactly what's coming to them right in front of the whole neighborhood? Yeah, that's what happened the morning Karen Williams, the infamous HOA president of Maple Ridge Estates, got herself hauled off in handcuffs, screaming her lungs out about bylaws and her community, while two cops practically dragged her away from the starting line of a charity marathon meant to help sick kids. There's something wild about seeing the person who spent weeks trying to shut us down end up being the main event. You know what I mean? Thing is, 3 weeks before that circus, this all started with just an idea. While I was sitting at my desk, I was working late looking at budget reports for this local nonprofit I help run when the need for a new wing at the children's hospital popped back into my head. Hospitals always need money, and these kids, they needed it more than most. I thought, why not do something right here in the neighborhood? Our streets are perfect for a 5K, and I figured folks would turn out for something that actually mattered. I'm a sucker for big plans. So the next thing you know, I'm on the city's website at midnight scrolling through permit applications, traffic control requirements, insurance details. You wouldn't believe the red tape. It took days, but by Friday I had a folder thick with official city stamps and more signatures than a yearbook. Once the paperwork was nailed down, I made some flyers, blasted out emails, posted in the local Facebook group, and man, people came out of the woodwork. Within a week, we had over 200 runners signed up, businesses offering to sponsor water stations, neighbors like Mrs. Henderson taking charge of volunteers, and even grumpy Mr. Peterson down the block offering his truck for setup. There was this real sense of, hey, let's do some good for once, and for a minute it felt like the whole community was behind me. Well, almost the whole community. I should have known Karen would show up sooner or later. She'd been HOA president for as long as anyone could remember, the kind of lady who polices the length of your grass and takes pictures if your garbage bins are out early. She marched up to my door the Tuesday after I posted the announcement, clutching my flyer like she'd just found a loaded gun. She hit me with that voice. You know, the type syrupy sweet but dripping with, "I'm better than you," and said the marathon was absolutely unacceptable, a clear violation of multiple bylaws. I tried to explain calmly, I might add, that the event was fully legal, city approved, the whole 9 yards. She just snorted, said the city doesn't understand how these things destroy a peaceful neighborhood, refused to even look at the permits, and warned me right there on my porch that if I didn't cancel, she'd take action. Then she spun around, marched back to her perfectly edged lawn, and left me in the doorway, staring after her, wondering how helping sick kids could get someone so worked up. That's when the real fun started. Over the next couple weeks, Karen basically waged war against the marathon. She started this Facebook group called Concerned Residents of Maple Ridge, and filled it with wild stories about crime litter noise, how our run was going to ruin property values. She posted news articles about marathon traffic jams in other cities, posted blurry photos of litter from events nowhere near here, even claimed, "This is the chaos we can expect." It got more dramatic by the day until you'd think we were inviting a biker gang instead of runners in matching t-shirts. I figured maybe she just needed to see the facts, so I stopped by her house folder of permits in hand and tried again. She opened the door wearing her HOA polo like she was going to war. She looked at the first page for about a second and declared the city was obviously incompetent, and that as HOA president, she could override anything she didn't like. I pointed out gently that HOA rules don't beat city permits, and she basically laughed in my face, told me I didn't understand how power works, and announced she'd already called her lawyer to stop my illegal gathering. Then she slammed the door so hard her cute little autumn wreath fell off. Not gonna lie, that part made me chuckle. By marathon week, Karen had recruited a whopping 3 neighbors to her side, all people who complain about literally everything. Meanwhile, we had over 400 runners, the news wanted to cover us, and it felt like the whole place was buzzing. The morning of the race, the weather was perfect. I got to the starting line at 6, set up with volunteers, everybody in good spirits, even the local coffee shop donated their morning sales. At 7:30, 30 minutes before start time, Karen storms onto the scene in a neon yellow vest, clipboard in hand, looking ready for battle with her 3 loyal followers shuffling behind. She planted herself right in front of the banner, shouting that this event was illegal. She was shutting it down as HOA president, and everyone needed to leave or face legal consequences. People looked at me like, what's going on? So I went up, permits in hand, offered to show her again. She didn't even glance at them, just said HOA rules were above the city's, that she'd done her research, and if we didn't disperse, she'd call the authorities. Well, lucky for us, we already had Officer Martinez and his partner there assigned to manage traffic. I flagged him down, explained what was happening, and he walked over as calm as you please, holding his own copy of our permits. He asked Karen to step aside so the event could go on. Karen, of course, got louder, insisting she was protecting her neighborhood, and when he explained very politely that stopping a permitted event was an actual crime, she started yelling about her rights, demanded his supervisor, and hinted at some massive anti-HOA conspiracy. At this point, the crowd was getting restless. Some of the kids looked nervous. I could see Mrs. Henderson off to the side, hands on her hips, giving Karen the enough already glare. At 8 sharp, I got on the mic and announced the race would start in 5 minutes. Runners moved to the line stretching, but Karen, and you got to picture this, spread her arms out like she was defending the Alamo, blocking the whole street, yelling that nobody could run until she said so, and that ignoring her would be criminal trespass. A couple teenagers tried to slip past her, but she blocked them, even grabbing a kid's arm, claiming he was too young to run. The kid's mom stepped in, and suddenly Karen was lecturing everyone about parental responsibility. It was a mess, and you could just feel everyone's patience running out. Officer Martinez radioed for backup, and when it arrived, walked over to Karen again. He told her in no uncertain terms she needed to move, or she'd be arrested for interfering with a permitted public event. That's when Karen totally lost it. She demanded Martinez's badge number, threatened to call the mayor, and I'm not making this up, announced she was placing everyone involved in this illegal gathering under citizen's arrest. Then, as if that wasn't enough, she grabbed one of the timing devices, said she was confiscating evidence, and shoved a volunteer when they tried to stop her. Folks all around were filming, and you could practically see her 3 supporters melting away into the crowd. That's when Officer Martinez finally snapped the cuffs on her. And let me tell you, the sound of those cuffs was like a starting gun for the neighborhood. Karen shrieked about constitutional rights and legal harassment, the whole way to the cruiser, still clutching her clipboard safety vest, shining in the sun, as half the block watched with this mix of shock, satisfaction, and, let's be honest, relief. With Karen out of the way, we kicked off the race, and the whole crowd just let loose, cheering, laughing, some folks even running harder like they were making up for all that drama. The news cameras caught it all. Families running together, neighbors high-fiving people, talking about how much it meant to finally do something good. We raised over $15,000 for the hospital, but the real win came later that week. See, after Karen's very public meltdown, the fallout was fast. She got slapped with $800 in fines for disorderly conduct, had to pay $500 in court fees, and cherry on top, once her arrest made the evening news, people started calling her job to ask if they really supported someone who'd ruin a charity event for sick kids. It got so ugly, she stepped down from the HOA board before they could even organize a recall. When the judge read her sentence, you could see her jaw hit the floor, and every news camera caught it. Now, Maple Ridge has been a lot quieter since then, and there's talk of making the charity run an annual thing, but I gotta admit, I still get questions. Some folks say Karen went too far. Others say the cops overreacted, and there are even a few conspiracy theorists who think there's more to the story. That's neighborhood life for you, right? Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. Was justice served, or did it all get out of hand? Drop your thoughts below. Is this what community looks like, or was it a step too far? Let's hear it.